And that's what allows it to function, because here's something that I don't know why no one has just come out and said this. I think some person said it, but they didn't go into detail. The virus is not made of any chemicals that can survive in a highly alkaline environment, because none of the atoms of the substances it's made of, it's, you know, got a lot of sulfur in it, or it's got a lot of sulfur molecules that are holding it together. None of those molecules and the chains and the configurations and the geometry they're set up in are designed to handle high amounts of APT charges that are being passed through the body. Any sort of alkalinity, it's just not built for that. And because it's not built for that, it's just not cut out for a very electrified body. And by you putting all those different minerals in fact, check this out. Go Google what element is in B6, vitamin D3, all these other ones, and you're going to find out like how all of those create a high alkaline state. But it's not just that they create a high alkaline state. They create, here's what messes up your immune system. Your body has all these weird preservatives and byproducts from other waste left over in it, because maybe you're healthy, but you still eat some bad things and your body doesn't clean them out soon enough. So these things find a nice little home on top of some of your cells, your blood cells and other things, and your nervous system, the part of the body it likes to attack, in particular lungs, things like that, certain tissue groups, right?
Oh, and that's another thing I wanted to mention. Why are they reporting that this is attacking most? They're saying men are mostly vulnerable with a history of upper respiratory issues. Why? Can you explain that?
Because we're smoking. Because we're smoking, but predominantly because here's what you have to understand. This is going to sound really messed up. What they're not going to tell you is that the virus that we initially were dealing with. Okay, first of all, this is really horrible, and no one will tell you this.
Oh no!
And eventually, they're going to tell you that. Listen.
Don't do it.
Have you ever wondered how certain viruses or illnesses that are they're bacteriological or virological can only affect women? You ever wonder why that is? Because whatever that virus is, it is specialized naturally to evolving inside of a female's body and taking advantage of the nutrients and just the different components and the construct nature of a female, biological system, right? Mm-hmm. But then there's other diseases and things like that are only designed, like things that are like, oh, I can only function in an environment where there's testosterone, high testosterone. You know what I mean? Or there's an organic system that's based around hormones like testosterone, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's other viruses that are like, I can only function in an environment that's running, on the high amounts of estrogen and progesterone, right? Uh-huh. Like, which is why as a man, you can't get certain diseases until you reach a certain age and you're not producing any more testosterone. And the same thing for a woman when she's producing less estrogen and more testosterone. So once she starts growing a beard and goes through the change, menopause, right? He starts going through the change. So, but answering the question, this thing was made in the lab, and the major test subject that it was geared for. So basically, this virus grew up in male test subjects from prison. So you wonder what happened to all those people that were just getting disappeared? Test subject. So they're not telling you that they would get the death penalty.
What are they testing the cure or the vaccine on? Who are they?
Monkeys. They're infecting monkeys right now with the virus to basically, which I think is a horrible idea. But I understand why they're doing it. But at the same time, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking to myself, like, fellas. I'm just like, anyway, so what we're dealing with here is the reason why it's more comfortable with attacking more. So let me put it this way. Virus came from China. China has one woman for every 40 men. So that means everybody whose organs they didn't harvest, but they shipped off to be a test subject, 1 in every 40 was a woman. Every other 40 was a man. or it's 60. We're getting these people in who were involved in Falun Gong, which decimated their female population because a large portion of those people were female, and a notably large portion were male, but they were older males, some younger. It was the demographic was changing, but the point is, this is who they were testing that stuff on. So that's why it's basically, I mean, granted, it has all the protein markers that it needs specifically for Asian males, but now we're starting to realize, since it's, since it's been moving from person to person, it's adapting, it's adjusting, it's mutating. So now we're in this crazy situation where it's still going to hit men harder because it still has that in its base code. So that raises the question of, how is this thing changing its genetic signature in order to adapt? Like, what parts of its genetic code is it shedding when it finds a new ethnicity? But for whatever reason, it's still saying, but hey, this is a man's body. I'm about to have some fun in here. So this is what we're going to have to deal with, is that not only war crimes, but crimes against humanity. That's what this thing is showing us, is that, oh, wait a minute, you're attacking men more? And you were made in the lab? Oh, okay, so then your test subject was predominantly male. Now people are going to come out and say, no, they were testing it on animals. No, they were testing it on animals. See, you don't understand. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You don't create a virus like that and say, oh, they were testing it on animals. Sure, they were testing it on animals, but they were probably, but in order to get the virus to a certain point, they had to have live human subjects. And that's partially what we're dealing with here, is that the virus that we got, and the reason why it's like, oh, I'm going to go attack some Asian males, because that's all they had. That's what the virus is about.
Oh my gosh, TMI. TMI.
And I'm just looking, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at everyone, listen, and I'm looking at everyone who keeps saying, oh, it's not supposed to attack Asian males. No, it wasn't. But I mean, eventually it was going to, but again, we're dealing with a virus where they kill the people who even know how it works. We kill the people who even know how it works, man. Come on. Like, who does that? Who does that?
We have some friends in the live chat that have joined the conversation, and I just want to update Jacob. We are having an impromptu show off the cuff today. It's just a random conversation here with my friend David Malkin. He is in Vietnam. And,
so the question becomes, how many people who were originally infected slept with a prostitute? This is going to, or someone who slept with someone else who gave the virus a new host of a different ethnicity to basically evolve and adapt in while they were spreading it. And listen to this, when you find out, watch this, before we're said and done, you're going to hear about the South Korean people shooting their own people, because the people who are the super spreaders down in South Korea that came from that one church where the guy, they call him a cult, but it's supposedly a Church of Jesus Christ in some dude's name, and the guy who's the leader of the church is running around telling everybody he's Christ come again. So the church members have no respect for the Korean people and the community and the safety of the country, and they're Korean, and now it's to the point where the government is slowly but surely gearing up for a nationwide manhunt. So you'll hear about them getting shot down because they're like, no, we don't respect your laws. We only respect the laws of our leader. So you're going to hear about a Korean cult being a super spreaders. So they're literally running around saying our leader told us to test you because you have to be faithful and come to him for salvation. And it's like, are you kidding me? So this is happening in Korea right now, where their situation is even worse than the one that was in China, because at least in China, people were pissed off and they were like, oh, I'm just going to, there's video of people spitting on elevator buttons, pissing on elevator buttons just to spread the virus. And I'm just like, wow. But here we have a situation where people's reason for spreading the virus is no other than they have a religious leader who trumps the government authority and is more important than the Korean people. And it's their job to suss it out. And I'm just like, okay, this is, again, so you'll see people, what is it? The first people you see getting gunned down will be by the state in South Korea in protection of Korean people because of these super spreaders. The next group of people you see getting gunned down, China not included, right? The next people you see getting gunned down will be people being gunned down in America by people who were deniers who held an event or kept an establishment up and running with a mass group of people then the only reason why they get gunned down, the owner of the establishment who held the event and created this mass socialization where the virus was able to spread, is when they go to Twitter complaining about something in relation to basically ratting themselves out to tell the public how they don't care and they don't believe it's real, and then someone's going to go and shoot them. And there's going to be a lot of little situations like that where people are like, you cost me my family because you're an idiot. Anyway,
but can it be transmitted through the mail, like, or products that we order?
You betcha. Listen. So,
I don't want to make people like. Look,
postal workers already. Postal workers. I was working as a mail clerk for a minute at a hospital, and we have rubber gloves, and every now and then we get poop samples in. Let's see how that plays out now. So everyone's wearing gloves now, but the point is we had rubber gloves there. I had a boss who I was working for, complete bag of leaves. He was a complete bag of leaves and wood shavings, all right? And we would say, hey, and I had a coworker who was like, hey, I need some rubber gloves to handle this. He was like, no, you don't, it's not a big deal. And I'm just thinking to myself, because
we did not talk about the bullet points before the top of this show. I just want to interject.
Sorry.
This conversation is like, what? It's just all over the place. It's just us talking. But sometimes, TMI. It happens. Like
so. I mean, listen. I'm going to even go as far to suspect that to boost the communal nature of it, and I have to go.
LA. Okay, go ahead.
And I have to go look, but I think that there's maybe some sort of plasmotoxin, or it's in a plasmotoxin family, because if you Google the video on Epoch Time, and this is listen.
Plasmotoxins. That's something you brought up that was really interesting, because
it's in cats. See, here's the thing: is that if you want to know what's in a virus,
wait a second. We've noticed that it's had effects on the nervous system, and people are losing control of their bodies. But it's also acting kind of crazy. I mean, and we haven't touched on that really. Because
plasmotoxin will take over the brain. Plasmotoxin has been known to change the way people's brain works. I mean, you see what it does. It makes mice turn themselves into, it removes the fight or flight function of a mouse's mind to run from cats, and makes them just stand there and wait for the cat to eat them, and then the cat eats the mouse, and then the plasmotoxin gets into the cat, and then the cat walks around spreading stuff, and then the cat eats food and rubbing on stuff.
I mean, you're still kind of decompressing. David, it was a while ago since you were in China, but you're still kind of decompressing from that experience. Am I right?
A little bit, man, because, here's my thing about China. When I look at, when I go back, when I roll my mind back to my experience in China, right? When I roll my mind back to my experience in China, there was this sensation of the young people. I'm just going to say this. I will never forgive the Chinese Communist Party for what they did to the Chinese people over the last 3 or 4 generations. And the reason why I'm saying that is because of the fact that they stole something from the soul and the mind of the Chinese people that is going to take them a while to get back. But I will say this about the virus, is that this is the doorway for them to go back, to head back in that right direction. Because, and here we go, getting back to the plasmotoxin thing, the way people were reacting at night, because, so you have all these mega high-rise condos, luxury condos, and people are sitting in their mega luxury condos, and you look on the horizon line, and it's like New York City. So imagine if you're in New York City at night. You're in a mega high-rise, super large loft condo, and you look out the window, and all your neighbors, as far as the eye can see, in all these buildings, right, are locked into those buildings. They can't get out. They have no food. They're starving. Their neighbors won't share with them. They can't leave because they don't want to get infected. And they're basically acting as though, mind you now, people were throwing their cats out of the window. You still have places in China that aren't on lockdown, and people are walking around with their cats. But imagine these people that are trapped in these buildings with their cats,